Welcome to the Living Peacefully channel, where we explore the deep values of life together, seeking methods to improve our spirit and bring our souls back to peace. Life, with all its challenges and fluctuations, always offers us valuable lessons that sometimes we forget to listen to. And it is in these seemingly simple moments that we can find the answers to life's biggest questions. When we face difficulties, pain, or even unexpected twists of fate, the most important thing is to learn how to let go, so that our hearts are no longer burdened by worries. Letting go is not about giving up, but rather an art of living that frees the soul, allowing us to love without expecting anything in return, and to cherish each moment of this life. So why do we need to learn how to live with love, accept imperfection, and appreciate the present? This is not a distant theory but practical steps that each of us can take to find peace in our current life. True tranquility, peace, and happiness do not come from racing against time or material achievements, but from the ability to live fully in the moments we have. In today's video, we will explore these profound values, the important lessons life brings us. If you are also searching for answers to life's big questions, if you long for a meaningful and peaceful life, then don't leave this video. Please click subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss any of our videos. Together, we will not only find valuable advice but also create a community of love, sharing, and helping each other on our journey of personal growth. Now, let's begin the journey of discovering the true values of life in this video. Life, much like a great river, constantly flows, carrying with it challenges, fluctuations, and the ups and downs that each of us must face. There are times when we feel as though we are being swept away by the flood of life, unable to control the current of our own existence. Yet, it is in these very moments that we realize that in order to find peace in life, we must learn how to let go and live with love that expects nothing in return. Letting go is not an easy task. It is a process of spiritual training, a shift in perception, where we let go of attachments and worries about the past and future, so we can live fully in the present. We often find ourselves caught up in thoughts about things that have already happened, mistakes we've made, or wounds life has inflicted upon us. These memories, like heavy stones, weigh down on our souls and make it difficult for us to walk freely and lightly. In reality, letting go does not mean forgetting or completely abandoning what we have gone through. Letting go is the liberation of the soul from the bonds of painful memories, allowing ourselves to gently embrace what is happening without being controlled by old thoughts. When we learn to let go, we create space for positive emotions, new opportunities, and inner peace. By releasing what no longer serves us, the burdens in our minds become lighter, enabling us to more easily accept happiness and tranquility. However, this is not easy, especially when we live in a society that constantly demands perfection. We are pressured to achieve success, to gain recognition from others, and to amass material possessions. The modern world compels us to race against time, always seeking validation from external achievements. We forget that true happiness does not lie in the completion of goals, but in how we live with ourselves with compassion and love. As human beings, we all experience moments of exhaustion, disappointment, and even pain. Yet, love is the medicine that heals the soul. Love is not conditional, nor is it about waiting for reciprocation. True love comes only when we give without expecting anything in return, when we simply wish for others to find happiness and peace. This is the love that the Buddha taught, love that is unconditional, without attachment, and not based on exchange or negotiation. Perhaps you have met someone who lives simply, asking nothing from life but always willing to help others without expecting anything in return. I once met an elderly woman who lived in a small house in a rural village. Despite having few possessions and no wealth, She always invited the poor and orphaned children to her home to share a meal. She never asked for anything in return, nor did she need recognition, but her eyes always shone with happiness and peace. Every time I saw her smile, I felt that she was the wealthiest person I had ever met, for she possessed a heart full of love. That unconditional love is the embodiment of compassion and boundless forgiveness. It is when we love without waiting for a response. When we love someone not to gain anything, but solely for their happiness, solely to bring peace to our own hearts. In these acts of love, we learn to accept and let go of expectations, letting go of the demand that others must reciprocate our love in a specific way. The key is that we give with all our hearts, without hesitation or demand. Life is full of challenges, but when we learn how to let go, we will realize that every challenge can become a valuable lesson. The difficulties and suffering in life are not the end, but opportunities for us to grow, to develop our inner selves. By loving and letting go, we not only help others, but also help ourselves overcome every storm in life. We do not need to do great things, nor do we need to change the world. We only need to change the way we perceive life, the way we love, and the way we live with what we have. Remember, letting go is not compromise or surrender, it is liberation. It is the way we live freely and peacefully. Love without expecting anything in return, live like flowers offering their fragrance to the world without asking for anything in return. When we release the burdens in our hearts, when we learn to love unconditionally, we will find peace in our souls and strength to face every challenge life brings. And at that moment, we will realize that life is not about what we have, but what we have given. And it is only by giving that we can truly receive the genuine happiness. In this life, as everything constantly changes and the challenges and hardships frequently come our way, we are easily swept up in the whirlwind of endless desires. People, especially in modern society, tend to seek more money, more success, more fame. We never feel like we have enough, even when we achieve what we desire. We are caught up in the race against time and our unending aspirations, forgetting that true peace comes from something very simple: knowing enough. Knowing enough does not mean accepting lack or giving up on our dreams. Rather, knowing enough is the profound realization that happiness does not come from possessing more things. Knowing enough is the ability to stop, reflect on what we already have, and feel completeness, rather than constantly demanding more. When we know enough, we feel lighter in our hearts, no longer burdened by unattainable desires. Happiness is not about how much we have, but about appreciating what we do have, and living fully in each moment. One of the key teachings of the Buddha is that people will never find happiness in material wealth or external things. True happiness comes from inner peace, from understanding the value of life, and from living fully in the present. Those who know enough are not those without ambition, but they are people who know how to manage their desires and not let them control their lives. Knowing enough means recognizing that happiness is not a destination, but a journey, and it is a journey that must be lived fully. We live in a world that is constantly busy and rushing. The noise of life, pressures from work, family, and society, make us forget the true values. We chase after goals that are beyond our reach, forgetting the simple things around us. But when we know enough, we begin to rediscover tranquility. Knowing enough is when we can smile at what we already have, when we realize that we don't need to change everything to feel happy. The important thing is to live fully with what we have, with the people around us, and with ourselves. In life, there are some who constantly seek perfection, always desiring more, never feeling satisfied. However, scarcity is not always what makes us feel unhappy. On the contrary, there are those who find inner peace even though they don't have everything they want. They realize that knowing enough has helped them feel peaceful and calm within. They don't let scarcity or endless desires overshadow their lives, but instead, they live each day with gratitude and appreciation. Surely, we have all heard stories of the hermit monk in the mountains, living simply, without possessing anything beyond the basics. He had no wealth, no fame, but he possessed a heart full of peace. When asked about happiness, he replied that happiness is in the simplicity of life, in the ability to live in harmony with nature, with oneself, and with others. The monk didn't need many things, but he always felt enough and at peace. It was from this simplicity that he found tranquility in life, not from what he owned, but from his ability to live truthfully with himself and enjoy what he had. Knowing enough is not a rigid concept that limits life, but rather an awareness of the boundaries of desire. When we know enough, we also understand the impermanence of life. Knowing enough is when we realize that life cannot always be controlled, and the important thing is accepting what we cannot change. Instead of living in endless craving, we learn to live in harmony with the present circumstances, finding joy in the simplest things. Life is not a race to acquire external things, but a journey to find inner peace. The more we crave, the more we chase after goals that are beyond our reach, the more we feel dissatisfied and incomplete. Knowing enough is a way to ease the pressure and live more peacefully and contentedly. When we know enough, we no longer feel deprived, no longer caught up in unrealistic dreams. We live in the present, appreciating what we have, and from there, happiness will naturally follow. Happiness is not something distant or difficult to attain. It does not lie in ownership or outward success. True happiness comes from the understanding that we simply need to know enough. Knowing enough so we no longer live in worry or endless craving. Knowing enough to find peace in the simplest things, in every breath, in every moment. When we live knowing enough, we no longer need to chase external things, but instead, we find tranquility within our own hearts. Thus, the key to happiness is the ability to live with enough and live peacefully. When we know enough, we no longer feel deprived, no longer dissatisfied with life. And when we live peacefully, we understand that happiness is not a destination, but the journey we are living, the experience we are having in each moment of life. In this life, we often have the tendency to search for perfection. We expect that everything will go our way, that our efforts will always yield flawless results, and that we will always achieve our goals effortlessly, without failure or setbacks. However, life is not a perfect picture, and people are not perfect beings. Therefore, learning to accept imperfection is one of the most important steps to living with peace and happiness. While high expectations can sometimes drive us to strive for success and achieve certain accomplishments, they can also be the source of disappointment, suffering, and stress. We set unattainably high standards for ourselves, and when we fail to meet them, we feel like failures, inadequate, and sometimes even undeserving of happiness. Yet, these inflated expectations are mere illusions we create, mental traps that leave us exhausted and disheartened. If you look around at life, you'll realize that everything is inherently imperfect. The sun doesn't always rise exactly on time, the rain doesn't always fall in a steady rhythm, and the harvest doesn't always yield a bountiful crop. Similarly, we humans are not perfect. Each of us has our flaws, mistakes, and personal pain. It is these imperfections that make each of us unique and special. Imperfection is not a flaw, it is an inevitable part of life. Accepting imperfection means recognizing that what is imperfect is actually part of the process of growth. No one achieves success without experiencing failure, No one becomes a better person without moments of weakness. The key is to learn to accept ourselves, with all our strengths and weaknesses. When we let go of unrealistic expectations, we no longer have to feel disappointed every time we fail to achieve our desires. Instead, we can feel at peace, understanding that perfection is nothing but an illusion. Imperfection is the source of creativity. It is because of imperfection that humans find ways to improve themselves and the world around them. If everything were perfect, we would have no opportunities to learn and grow. Every mistake, every failure is a valuable lesson, teaching us perseverance and courage to rise again after every fall. It is these imperfect moments that give life its value. High expectations often prevent us from seeing the beauty in simple moments. We become so focused on distant goals and ideals that we forget that true happiness doesn't lie in those faraway things. Happiness is found in seeing the beauty of the present moment, in the small things around us. When we accept imperfection, we also learn to love life, love ourselves, and love others. We learn to recognize the goodness in each imperfection, and from there, life becomes much lighter and more enjoyable. Accepting imperfection also means accepting that we cannot control everything. We cannot always master every situation, and we cannot always make things unfold exactly as we planned. But this does not mean that life is meaningless, nor that we cannot find peace. In fact, imperfection is where opportunities for growth lie. It helps us realize that, within imperfection, we find greatness in humanity, humility, and patience. When you let go of unrealistic expectations, you will realize that life is not always going to be perfect, and that doesn't mean your life is deficient. You can still find joy, peace, and happiness even when things around you don't go as planned. What matters is that you learn to love yourself, appreciate what you have, and live fully in each moment. When we no longer crave perfection, we find ourselves living more freely, no longer burdened by unrealistic standards. There is a story in Buddhism about a potter. He always created beautiful pots, but each pot had a slight imperfection, a small crack. The potter never repaired these cracks. Instead, he incorporated them into the design of the pot. His pots became unique because each crack added to the beauty of the piece. The cracks were not a flaw, they were what made the pot valuable. Life is the same way. Imperfection is not something to be denied, but something to be accepted and cherished. It is these cracks that create beauty, depth, and growth in each person's life. When we accept imperfection, we no longer have to live in the exhaustion of unrealistic expectations. Instead, we learn to live peacefully and tranquilly. Life is not a journey to achieve perfection, but a journey to learn how to love, accept, and grow. Let every mistake, every hardship, every imperfection be part of the path you walk, and from there, you will find peace and happiness in the imperfection itself. In life, we often hear about love, compassion, and sharing, but we don't always fully understand these concepts. True love is not a gift given with conditions, but an act that comes from the heart, a selfless offering given without expecting anything in return. Compassion is not just empathy for others, but an understanding and acceptance that each of us carries our own pain and struggles. It is unconditional love, forgiveness, and the strength that helps us overcome challenges in life. Loving without expecting anything in return is a virtue that few can practice easily, because as humans, we often expect to receive something back for what we give. We want our love and kindness to be reciprocated, whether through gratitude, appreciation, or simply positive feedback from others. However, if love is a transaction, if affection is only given with the expectation of receiving something in return, then it is not true love. True love is when we love without asking for anything, When we give because of sincerity and the desire to bring happiness to others, without regard for personal gain. Loving without expectation is the ultimate freedom. When we love without waiting for a return, we are not bound by expectations or disappointments. We love without demanding perfection, without hoping that others will reciprocate our feelings in the way we wish. In reality, when we love without expecting anything in return, we are the ones who benefit the most. The peace of mind, the lightness in our hearts, are the greatest rewards we can receive. The beauty of love lies in the unconditional sacrifice, not because we want praise or a return, but because we understand that love is an essential part of life, a source of energy and strength to overcome difficulties. Loving without expectation is a way of living that the Buddha taught us. In Buddhism, love is not a weak or dependent emotion, but a state of awareness, compassion, and wisdom. Compassion is love in action, sharing the pain of others without expecting anything in return. When we love without expecting anything, we no longer need to worry about whether others will love us back. We only need to do what is right, love from the heart, and let the results come naturally, without force or pressure. This unconditional love is not only expressed in our relationships with others, but also in how we treat ourselves. Many of us live in self-criticism, striving for perfection in every aspect of our lives. This creates significant psychological pressure, preventing us from truly loving ourselves. Loving oneself is not about indulgence or fulfilling every personal desire, but about accepting ourselves with all our mistakes, flaws, and weaknesses. When we learn to love ourselves without expecting perfection, we feel lighter and can love others more sincerely. In our daily lives, love and compassion are not only manifested through grand actions, but also through small, meaningful gestures. A gentle smile at the cashier, a word of concern when seeing someone in difficulty, or an act of kindness without expecting a return. These are all expressions of love and compassion. Sometimes, a small act can change someone else's life, offering them comfort and encouragement to continue. This is the essence of giving without expecting anything in return, creating a positive cycle that, once initiated, can spread further than we ever imagined. Living with love and compassion teaches us to release worries, negative thoughts, and unrealistic expectations. We are no longer bound by demands for what we receive, but instead, we live in the freedom of the heart. We can give without feeling deprived, and what we receive is not what we wish for, but peace and happiness. Loving without expectation is the path to eternal happiness, because it does not depend on external circumstances or the reactions of others. A Buddhist story illustrates this idea of loving without expectation. A monk frequently helped others, never expecting thanks or rewards. One day, a man came to seek his assistance. After receiving help, the man didn't express any gratitude. The monk smiled and said, "Love has no conditions, helping others is not for receiving something in return, but for sharing." This reflects the letting go of expectations, the selfless giving without waiting for anything back, and the unconditional compassion that transcends all. When we learn to love without expectation, we understand that everything in life flows naturally. Love is not about possession, but about bringing freedom to others, allowing them to live fully and freely in their relationships. It is this unconditional love that helps us overcome all barriers, dissolve all distinctions, and create deep connections with those around us. Let love and compassion become the guiding light in your life. Love without expectation, help without hoping for anything in return, and live in the peace that unconditional love brings. When we love without asking for anything back, the world becomes a better place, and we, too, will find true happiness in the serenity and peace within our hearts. In life, One of the things we often overlook is the present moment. Instead of fully embracing the moments that are unfolding right now, we tend to get swept up in worries about the future or regrets about the past. However, it is these small, fleeting moments that are truly the most precious, because life is not a never-ending journey, but the experiences we are living and feeling right here, right now. As busy individuals in today's modern world, we frequently lose the ability to enjoy and live fully in the present. We're constantly consumed with thoughts of the future or nostalgia for the past, gradually forgetting that life is truly about being present in the now. Every passing moment carries with it profound value, and if we don't learn to appreciate it, we may miss it forever. Life never waits for us, and time never rewinds. That is why living fully in the present is an art, a deep, soulful practice that we each must learn and cultivate. When we live fully in the present, we realize that every moment holds something wonderful, opportunities to learn, to grow, and to love. If we only focus on distant dreams for the future or dwell on regrets from the past, we won't be able to appreciate the beauty of life where we stand. Simple moments, like a flower blooming, a breeze passing, or the smile of a loved one, are treasures that life gifts us. If we don't stop to appreciate them, we'll never recognize the miracle they represent. Living in the present does not mean living irresponsibly or neglecting the future. On the contrary, living in the present is a way of truly mastering our lives. When we are not caught in the whirlwind of worry about what's yet to come or sorrow for what's already gone, we can focus on what's happening now. This allows us to make better decisions and engage in actions that hold meaning. Living in the present means stopping, listening, and feeling life deeply, while also creating a bright future from the small, meaningful actions of today. To live fully in the present, we must learn to let go of our anxieties about the future. The future is always an unknown, and we cannot control everything. What we can control is how we act in each present moment. Worries about the future only add stress and occupy mental space, preventing us from enjoying the peace of the present. Therefore, we must let those worries pass by like clouds and instead focus on what we can do right now. Similarly, sadness and regret over the past can often hold us back from moving forward. We cannot change the past, but we can change how we perceive it. Every failure, every mistake, is a valuable lesson that helps us grow and become stronger. The past has value only when we learn from it and do not let it hinder our present journey. Let the past be a part of our life, not a burden, but a solid foundation for the steps ahead. We can learn so much from the lessons life offers, but to truly grasp the value of each moment, we must practice. It's not just theory, it's applying it in every action, every thought we have daily. When we begin to notice the small details in life, we will realize that each moment holds its own unique value. A meal, a conversation, a moment spent listening to the birds sing or gazing at the stars, these moments all bring us a sense of peace and happiness. Living in the present is not about giving up, it's about accepting and merging with the natural flow of life. When we learn to love what we have, we find joy even in the simplest things. Happiness is not a destination, but a journey we experience each day. And in that journey, the moments we cherish will be the shining gems that light up our souls and guide us along the way. Ultimately, cherishing every moment and living in the present is the key to realizing that life is a priceless gift. Don't let worries or the past occupy your mind. Live in every moment, savor the beautiful things life offers, and remember to sow seeds of love and compassion for yourself and the world. By doing so, we will live a life full of meaning, with beautiful memories and unforgettable moments of happiness.